gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome, Matchroom Radio with David Diamante, episode 81. And today, we're in Manchester, England, a city with a great fighting history. We've got a big fight card here this weekend at the top of the bill. Jack Catterall, Barboza Jr., big fight, but also on the card, Zelfa Barrett, and that leads us into our guest. When you talk about Manchester boxing, you cannot talk about it without talking about this man, the Black Flash, Pat Barrett. Pat, great to see you, brother.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. Good.
All right. Man, it's great to have you here today.
It's a pleasure being here today.
And there's a lot to talk about, man. Wonderful to have you here. And Zelfa's on the card, so let's start there. How's Zelfa feeling?
He's feeling great. I mean, to me, it's like Zelfa is what we call. He's been really great because, I mean, for every outing that he's had, you know, and especially these last few outings, it should have been a world title, and we're all aware of that. But keeping him engaged and keeping him functioning and keeping him believing in that dream is going to happen is this step closer to it. So this fight with Jazza Dickens is not being overlooked. It is by a lot of people, but not by me, you know, because it's an obstacle, because Jazza's coming in this with everything to gain and nothing to lose. So it's a big risk for us.
Absolutely. Southpaw, very tough, 2-win streak. He's had some great wins. Lee Wood, Goga, like he's had some good wins. But Zelfa, coming off that great win against Jordan Gill. Let's talk about Zelfa's fight in Abu Dhabi when he did fight for the world title against Rakhimov. Man, that was heartbreaking in a lot of ways because I remember calling the fight. It was in Abu Dhabi, and Shavkat, tough customer, but Zelfa was just like, he seemed really switched on for that fight. And at the beginning of the fight, I mean, he was just doing great, and he had Rakhimov hurt, and I thought he was going to win that fight. And there was a moment, because I was ringside watching it, it just seemed like he lost focus. Something happened, and the fight switched.
I think what it was, and that was for both of us on both our parts. See, I've been training Zelfa now since an amateur. I've been through his career all my life. He's lived with us. So to see him in a situation where something's not right and you're not used to it, and it was like, I think it was a perpetrated eardrum, that he couldn't feel the balance. He comes and says, I can't feel my feet on the floor. And it was a moment of, what do I say? What do I do? Because it wasn't like a normal injury. It wasn't like, you know, it's just come out of the blue. As far as I'm concerned, Zelfa was winning the fight easily, stick to the boxing. Then came in a mental obstacle. And when I say a mental obstacle, in the ring, if you have anything that, your mind has got to be as clear as the water you drink. Unfortunately, he got this mental obstacle. And the only thing I could say to Zelfa, you're winning this fight. Stay switched on. My colleague, who I'm always with, Wayne Smith, he says, something's not, he pat me on the shoulder and says, I was just watching the fight, he says, something's not right, Pat. And I said, I know. And then we managed to get through that round, and I think it was around about the 9th round. I just thought, Zelfa just says, do you know what? I was going to stop the fight then, but I thought, no, I'm ready for a towel in. I let him go out there, and I thought, it's one thing that Zelfa's got is a puncher's chance. And if he could just swing that shot and catch him, then it could turn the fight around. And as he went to swing it, and he swung it, and he went off balance, and he ended up on the floor in the corner, I just threw the towel in, because I knew as he threw the shot, he was off balance. And if he would have got back up, Rakhimov was the kind of fighter that's going to see that, and he's like an injured animal, and he's going to be all over him. So I thought, no, I don't want this to happen.
Save it for another day.
Yeah, and bear in mind, Zelfa took that fight with only 4 weeks' notice. So I mean, to fight for someone like Rakhimov. So, you know, there's a lot of good things I took out of that fight for Zelfa, that I know that we did the right thing, pull him out, as you said, save it for another day, and now we can go on to do greater, better things. We even forgot about that.
So, obviously we're not overlooking Jazza Dickens, but let's say he gets past Jazza. What is the road to the world title at this point? Because you've got, I mean, that that division right now, super featherweight, is just filled with sharks.
Yeah.
Navarrete, Kakachi,
Yeah.
Raymond Ford,
Yeah.
Cordina,
Yeah.
Magsayo. I mean, there's just a lot of really tough customers. Sugar Nunez. There's a lot of tough guys
Yep.
in that division.
I think what we do, we get over this, get through this, get over this obstacle. I mean, look, this would take us, I think, to 33. 33. So that would take Zelfa. Wins this, it'll be 31-2. You know, he's a good puncher, Zelfa. He's a strong super featherweight. He's boxed at super featherweight throughout his career. Okay, he's not had to go up. He makes the weight comfortably. He's strong at making the weight, and even when he didn't make the weight comfortably, when he did it all the wrong ways, it was still strong. He was still knocking guys out. Okay, now he's working with Peter Bell. He's working with a nutritionist. Everything. You looked at him today. He was fresh. You look at him all the other time. He's strong. So, you know, that helps his performance, especially as time progresses. He's a mature. He's a seasoned pro now. So yeah, any one of these guys, we just take him as we take everybody else, which we've always prepared for. We treat him with the greatest respect. We prepare for him properly. We don't overlook anything. In fact, I don't overlook anything. That I try and comb through everything like a fine comb.
The mentality of a fighter going into a fight, a guy like Zelfa for tomorrow, do you have to talk to your fighters, not just Zelfa, but any of the fighters that you train, that you manage, that you promote? You know, you above all else than anyone in the game know about the mentality of this game and what it takes. What's it like going into a fight for Zelfa tomorrow? Is he mentally switched on? Do you have to talk to him?
Yes, I do. And the reason why, there's a lane, and you've got people outside that lane that can say things like, people say, oh, you'll knock this Jazza out, oh, you'll do this. And you'd say 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 people are going to say the same thing that Zelfa would like to hear. And I'm going to say, no, you're not. You're going to earn this knockout. And we're going to stay switched on. And we're going to treat Jazza is going to be dangerous for early rounds. I'm aware of that. I know that. Yeah, but so is anybody that Zelfa fights. Yeah, you've got to be able to pin Zelfa down and figure him out. And my job as a coach is to make sure Zelfa is not going to be the same in that fight. I've got to analyze Zelfa's mistakes, what he would do, what in that fight. Nope. So when you get in a Zelfa Barrett, you're not getting the same Zelfa Barrett from the last fight, because a lot of fighters make the same mistake in every fight. Their hands drop down low. They're doing this. The feet crosses over. Do you know what I mean? I comb through it and make sure there's none of this. So you're going to get a totally different Zelfa than what you see in boxing, Jordan Gill.
Let's talk about you for a second. When you first got into the game, you followed your older brother into the boxing gym, is that correct?
Sorry?
You followed your older brother into the boxing gym, yeah?
Yeah.
And you guys were doing kickboxing before that?
Yeah.
How long did you do kickboxing for?
I did kickboxing for about just under 12 months, so about 10 months.
And how old were you then?
I was like 15, 16 when I was doing kickboxing.
And what got you into the fight game in the first place? Was it your older brother?
My older brother, he went into he stopped doing the kickboxing and went into boxing, and then I followed him into the boxing gym and seeing what it was like. He had about 3 or 4 fights as an amateur, and I just continued it on.
Is that when you first met Brian Hughes?
Yeah.
When you guys first met, what was that like?
Me and Brian,
Did you like him at first? Did he like you at first, or did you? What was?
You know, Brian was always with every kid, and he used to have every kid in the ring, and he runs up high and learning the stepping in with the jab, stepping out, and then we used to be in the ring, put the gloves on, we used to do jab and block. You know, you're learning how to stop a jab as you're learning how to throw a jab, and I'll never forget that. Yeah, because most people when they step in the ring, they're just learning how to punch. It's just one way. We was learning how to defend and attack. Yeah, and this is what you don't see in boxing no more. Brian was a master of teaching, and one thing I never forget, he told me that this here is the master key. That's what he used to call it. It says it opens up all the combinations, yeah, you can think of in boxing. If you got a good left jab, you can work off it. And these are the things that stuck in my head to this day now. Yeah. So now I run Brian Hughes' gym, the late Brian Hughes' gym, and I've been in that gym now for what? Let's just say the best, I'm 58 now, so the best of 40 years I've been in that gym. You know, it's like, it makes me smile. because I'm carrying on something that Brian Hughes was doing, but I've took it to a different level where now I'm not just teaching, I'm a promoter, I'm a trainer, I'm a matchmaker, and I'm also a manager. So I'm also doing everything for the lads in my gym. So yeah, it's you know, and also the key question what you said is making sure that the mindset is perfect, because it's the first thing you train with a fight. You don't train them physically, you train them mentally. It's like having a dog, trying to house train it. A dog that's not house trained is no good. You know why, don't you? It's going to mess up your house. Yeah. So a fighter that's not physically trained, or sorry, mentally trained, is no good.
Brian Hughes, quite an amazing guy. I know he's really important in your life. But he was a guy, like one of the unsung heroes of the sport, really, and of the community. You know, guy that got into the sport at an early age, getting kids off the street, cared about the kids. And he trained them football also. But he said when they opened up the boxing gym, like the first day, it's 60 kids there. 60 kids.
Yeah.
Just in that area, you know. What was that area like growing up?
Well, see, the gym it had a name Colliers to Mustang because originally the gym was from an area called Colliers. And when it shut down, Colliers Boxing Gym, it moved to Mustang. And then because it was in the area, but it still kept the same brand as Colliers to Mustang. And growing up in that area, at the time when we first moved into that area, it was less coloured peoples in that area. We was one of the first black families to move in that area. And where I used to live in Harper, to walk to Mustang, to walk to the gym, it was just like, how can you say, it's like a gazelle walking through lion territory. You know, it wasn't nice.
You got a lot of stick.
Yeah, but you know, you could just put your headphones on, put your hood up, and you just do that 20-minute, 25-minute walk and not think about anything, and just hoping not to get attacked. So yeah.
Tough area.
It was, but then, you know, years later, it changed. It wasn't the same kind of area. You know what I mean? People got used to you. You kind of made it like home. And Brian used to always have a thing where the local papers, he used to get you in it and take a picture. And he had someone that would always come from the local papers because the local boxing gym. So when you're getting these free papers posted through your door, who's on it? This little black kid here, his hands up like this. And you know, he'd do a nice little article for you as well. And that was Brian's way of promoting you, which also taught me my own way of promoting my own fighters coming up.
So guys like Eddie Thomas and Jack Bates helped Brian, and the coaching tree comes down to a guy like you.
Yeah.
But he also, like, he traveled around. I mean, he spent time in Wales and Merthyr Tydfil, watching guys spar there. I mean, he really kind of lived, drank, and ate the sport. I mean, he was really a student of the game. Even though he was never a great fighter himself, it wasn't his calling, but teaching was. But it seems like in your career, especially early, like your third fight, you had a loss, right?
Yeah.
But he was able to, and you thought the world was done.
Yeah.
But he was able to mentally take you out and say, Sugar Ray Robinson's had losses, Muhammad Ali's had losses, and
that's what we talk about when we talk about the mind. Brian was, I think I'm so much of a different trainer to Brian, and I'll tell you why in a minute, because Brian had this calm, soothing way where he would just sit you down and say, look, put his arm around you and say, listen, son, life is not like this, and he'd just tell you a little story, and you'd get sucked into what he was saying so easy, because what he said, it always made sense. You can always relate to anything that Brian says, and yeah, you're right. My mum passed away. She wouldn't have wanted you to do this, because I wanted to pat boxing, and when she passed away, and he says, it's not what your mum would have wanted. I'll leave it down to you now, Patrick, because you saw us come Patrick, and he said, you know, it's up to what you want to do. And he always had that way. Even when I lost my third fight, I never wanted a loss. And like he said, he named all these great fighters, that have lost fights, but carried on to be world champions. And it made you go, oh. He said, sometimes a loss can be for the good. a loss can make you better, because once you lose early in your career and you get this feeling of being beat, you never want to taste that feeling again. And he was so right.
The mentality is so big in this game, and I believe you're one of the great guys in the sport to really show that. And I want you to talk a little bit about, in '89, your win for the Central Area against Sugar Jibaroo, and that knockout, and what that did for you.
It's very hard to say, because Sugar Jibaroo was the bestest fight of my whole career, and I'll tell you why, because when I knocked out Sugar Jibaroo, years and years ago, as an amateur, I sparred Sugar Jibaroo, and he's the only man that's ever made me cry in my whole entire life, and I'll tell you why. Because I sparred with him, and Sugar Jibaroo was the most relentless fighter you could possibly imagine. He kept coming. You could hit him with a bat, a brick, you name it, and he'd still be coming. So when I was a young lad as an amateur, I thought I was good. Brian convinced me I was good. Sugar Jibaroo broke me down with his relentlessness, to the point where Brian kind of pulled me out the ring, feeling sorry for me, and put another kid called Lance Williams in with him and let him finish the sparring. And I never forget that, because I walked out, took my gloves off, threw them, and I walked into the back. And then Brian must have seen that I was upset. He came in the back, as he says, but this time I wasn't having it, because he told me that how good I was, and he always said to me, I'm going to be a world champion. Sugar Jibaroo broke me, made me cry, yeah. When I boxed him the first time before I went to America, I got a draw with him, yeah, over 8 rounds. I boxed him again to defend my Central Area title after winning it, and I knocked him back out. That, to me, unlocked everything in my head to how good I am. Do you know what I mean? All the demons that I had, it released them. And after I knocked out Sugar Jibaroo, it just went on. It snowballed on it. A week and a half later, I boxed Tony Willis.
For the British.
Yeah, and I knocked Tony Willis out.
That's a brutal knockout.
Right, and then I went on to box then I was on Fight Night, and Roberto Trevino, I boxed this kid called, this Mexican fighter. I knocked him back out. So this all came from Sugar Jibaroo knockout. It unleashed everything that everybody I boxed from there was getting knocked back out.
But let's talk about, just for a second, again, mentality and what Brian did for you. But I don't want to just give all Brian the credit. I want to give you credit also, because you were the one actually in there doing it. I think it's really important for a fighter to have the correct trainer, but it's also important for that fighter to believe that trainer. And when you fought Tony, you're fighting a guy that, went to the Olympics, had medaled, and you were quite worried about that, right? You were quite concerned.
Yeah.
And you didn't necessarily believe in yourself, even after the Jibaroo fight.
No.
But Brian, just like you're talking about how you said, all these people talk to Zelfa, oh, you're going to knock him out. But you tell Zelfa, you're going to knock him out, but this is why. Brian did that for you in that fight, is that correct?
Yeah, and what he did, I said, when I didn't know nothing about Tony Willis, people talk and say, hey, he won a bronze medal in. And I think it was '84 Olympics. And I thought to myself, oh, bronze. And then Sugar Ray Leonard and all them people.
Breland.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, Beneki must be really good in. And that's when it got to me. So.
You started doubting yourself.
Yeah, and I only had a week and a half. It's just after I knocked out Sugar Jibaroo. It's only like, Brian knocked on my door, so I got good news, bad news. What's that? Got your British title. Oh, great. But what's the bad news? It's a week next week. And I've had no Southpaw sparring. So, anyway, I said to Brian, do you think I can beat this Tony Willis? Now, Brian looked at me and goes, now, you won't beat Tony Willis. You'll knock this kid spark out. I went, oh. I took a breath, like, why?
How's this supposed to happen, right?
I said, why? And he goes, say 3 reasons. 1 reason, you've been boxing kids bigger than this on the circuit, because I started my career as a journeyman. He goes, 2, yeah, he's not a natural light welterweight. And 3, he's boxed at, he's boxed at featherweight, super featherweight, now he's moved up to light welterweight. No, he's boxed at, was it featherweight, lightweight, yeah, and moved up, yeah. So he goes, and that's the reason why you'll knock this kid's back out. And as soon as he said that, Everything what he said made sense.
It clicked.
It clicked because I've been boxing kids bigger than this. I remember when I went over to Switzerland and the kid that was like this, he was bigger than me. He was like a light middleweight while I was a light welterweight, and I knocked him out in 1 round. And all this now started coming together. Brian took a face of Tony Willis and he stuck it on this bag. We had this yellow old bag, and I just kept remember hitting that bag like I was hitting Tony Willis. And it's the same way I took that attitude and that week and a half notice in the ring. And as soon as I knew physically, it stuck in my head, I'm stronger than this guy. Because then I looked at him and I thought, wow, you're not even big. And I was big, and I thought, right. And that's when the belief came in. Anything he hit me with, it was like, I felt like I was bulletproof. Because again, it's what you said, Brian just put this thing in my head that made me think like, it's like it casted a spell on me for the moment. Anything he hit me with, I didn't feel it.
But you bought into it, and you have to as a fighter, right? You have to trust your trainer, and you did.
Listen, Brian could have told me I'm fighting King Kong.
And you would have done it.
And I said, do you think I could beat him? And if he would have said, yeah, I'd fight that big gorilla.
What was the mentality going into the Calamati fight?
Again, I'll never forget what Brian said. This was about money, this is so funny.
Well, okay, that's a great, I'm glad you brought that up, because you had a derby that you wanted.
Yeah.
Over the Calamati fight.
Yeah.
But Brian knew this is prize fighting. This is the path to a world championship, and this is a bigger payday.
Yeah, and that was Tony Acubia.
Right. Tell us about that.
And I wanted to fight Tony Acubia because I wanted to win the belt outright.
Right.
This fight between me and Tony Acubia stood between me winning the belt outright. And I said to Brian, no, I want to fight Tony Acubia, Brian. Everybody wants this fight. And Brian went, look, Pat, you're going to fight Tony Acubia. It's a very hard fight. And you're going to fight Ephraim Calamati. It's a very hard fight. But the difference between them two, you're going to get paid 3 times more to go over to Italy to fight at Calamati, and you're going to get less money for a tougher fight to fight Tony Acubia. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
And I kind of like, I felt disappointed because it's like I backed down from the fight. But it made sense what he's saying.
Sure. Did you ever take stick for it here in Manchester?
No, I never did. Because I relinquished the belt. And anyway, to go over there to fight for the European, it was a lot of money. And when Brian said to me, this is like winning 3/4 of the world. If you win this, you'll be able to sign your own checks after this. They were the words he said. You'll be able to sign your own checks after winning this fight. And I just said, we'll have it. Because now I'm thinking about buying a house, buying all the nice leisure things that I really would like to do without scrimping and scraping. You know, I give myself a start in life. And that's what Brian said. Now you can put this into bricks and mortar.
Because before, I mean, you didn't have much.
No.
And so like fighting for like 1,500 quid, all this kind of stuff, it was a big deal for you, right?
It was massive.
It was a big deal.
And, you know,
like all the trophies you had, I've heard you say that if you could just turn them into money, you'd rather that.
Yeah, I remember looking at them and counting them and thinking, if I could just get 600 quid, if I made it, every one of them trophies into £100, and I could sell them, there's like over £1,000. What I could do with this.
That's right.
Just after my mum died, we lived in some little flat that really needed doing up, and I didn't even have the money to do it up. I was given furniture from my sister, and you know, I've always had big intentions of a lifestyle that I wanted for myself, and that wasn't the lifestyle. And anyway, when this opportunity came and I was able to buy a house from it, mate, honestly, there was no, how can you say it, like the Tony Willis fight, there was no beating me, because once again, Brian installed a different form of belief to why I should win it and to what I could do if I did win it. My life would change. That's it. My life would change. And it did.
Now, during all this, you still had a foot in the streets, yes?
Yeah. Because
how did you straddle those two worlds? Because you're pretty well known here in Manchester.
The streets I never left, and the streets respected me for not turning my back on it. Because a lot of people go one way, they don't have to look back. But I wanted to go back. Every time did something, we won a title, we're going back into the hood. We're going back into Cheetah Mill and around. My best friend was Carl Lynch, a kid called Carl Lynch. And he was like very highly respected kid, and his brother, we used to call him Chinny, but AKA Anthony Lynch. And they were the people that I used to be around back in the day, and used to go and visit them in jail. And we got to form good friends, and that's how knocking around in them areas started from in them days. And I like to have them people around me, and I like them to share everything that I got. And that was everybody from Cheetah Mill. It wasn't just them. It was, once you got into Cheetah Mill, it was like become like a family. It came people that was highly respected, and the area was a very popular area. It was known by the police as what we say is a crime area, an organised crime area. But it was also very respected, the people, and I wanted to be part of that, because when I then realised it ain't about money for me, it's about respect. I realised the power that these kids had just for being respected. I mean, we'd be going to club doors, door would be opening the doors for us. We seen footballers queuing up. We're like, wow, we're not even, they're celebrities. We're not. And I never, ever looked at myself as a celebrity, as much as people would say you are, but I'm not. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way I always kept it. This is why me and boxing, as much as I enjoyed it, it started going against the grain, because I didn't want to be a celebrity. I didn't want to be that guy. I loved the sport, but I didn't want that guy. I didn't want to be that guy.
How did Brian feel about you having a foot in both worlds? He knew about it, right?
Yeah, he didn't at first, but he started hearing things, because no matter what, yeah, the same way I was thought, oh, I'm on the streets, Brian would never know this. Brian knew everything I was doing, every move I knew.
He's got eyes and ears.
When I was in a club here that it was out, he'd just give me this look now and shake his head, and I knew I'd upset him.
Right.
And the horriblest thing I used to hate doing is disappointing him.
Yeah.
And once I disappointed him, it was very hard to get it back. And that's the way it went for a little bit. And that's where it became hard. And that's where you get on the verge where you say you stop listening, because you're trying to burn the candles at both ends.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's difficult to live in both worlds.
Yeah.
So did you start kind of leaning more to the boxing, or you really just still stayed straddling?
No, I was paddling in deep waters and basically waiting to drown at this point. And then this is where Brian threw me one more lifeline, and he brought me to his house. I remember he had this TV crew with him, and he said to me one day, before he had this TV crew, he says, now listen now, Patrick, have you fell out of love with boxing? I said, no, Brian. He goes, do you still want to do it? I said, yeah. He said, right, there's a TV crew that want to do a thing with you. And I spoke to someone in America, John Davenport. Lennox Lewis trainer it was at the time. And he goes, he's prepared to have you over there. He's got 4 other boxers. This promoter's doing something. They live on a motel, and this new promoter, I can't remember his name, it was a long time ago. And he goes, and they're prepared to have you. And there's a kid called Sid Vanderpool that was on it from Canada. He boxed Bernard Hopkins. There was Greg, there was Reyes, there was a bantamweight, there was a light heavyweight, and there was a super middleweight, which was Sid Vanderpool, who me and him became good friends. Anyway, it says, and do you want to go over there? Because this is your last throw of the dice now, Patrick. This is the last throw of your dice. And I said, okay then, I'll do it for you, Brian. But when I said, okay, I'd do it, something inside me didn't want to do it. But I was only saying I want to do it for Brian.
Of course, you didn't want to let him down.
Yeah, I thought he was trying to test me.
Right.
I didn't really think he was going to send me to America.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I thought he was just trying to test me
to
see if I would say yes or no.
Okay, but he was dead serious.
He was dead serious. And that was the thing I didn't know. So when he says yeah, he goes, right, great. So I'm thinking, okay. So we've gone out of his house, got in my car, drove off. I'm thinking, I wonder if he's being serious. And it was stuck in my head. And next thing you know, within the gym, he's asked me to get in the gym on time. There's this, like all these lights, camera crew, oh fucking hell. I thought, wow. And I kind of like, lost my breath a little bit. And then they started talking to me, but I was more distracted now mentally, thinking, I'm still in terms, but I've already said I'm going to.
Right.
So I've got to live by it now.
Of course.
So, okay then, and so you're going to America now, you're looking forward to going to America, this is the interview. I said, yeah. He says, do you know much about this guy you're going to train with, John Davenport? I said, no. Well, John Davenport is he's an ex-soldier, ex-marine or whatever. He went to Vietnam and he also went back to Vietnam, started volunteering. I'm like, what? As soon as I heard that this man has gone back to Vietnam volunteering, I just kind of thought, who the hell would go back to Vietnam volunteering? This must be some crazy guy. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, what's Brian doing to me here? 3 weeks later, I'm going to America. Yeah. And I remember being at the airport and I'm going. Lyndon was only a little baby by that time, because I remember saying bye to him. And because he was with his sister, Erica, which was knocking around with this girl that I used to go out with, Maria. And they're all saying bye to me at the airport. I'm getting on this plane and I'm like, fucking hell. And I was so, in my head, I'm so sad. I didn't want to leave. All I'm thinking about now is the nightclubs in town, the driving around, everybody that I'm leaving around, the respect that I just started getting in Manchester. Oh, that I'm thinking, what am I doing? Yeah. The 6 months I was over there, for 3 months, it was heartache and pain. It was like jail. I'm sat in this motel, in this room, living on this training camp.
Where were you?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie.
Yeah. And it was freezing as well. We went in the winter time. My thing about America was it's going to be sunny. I've gone in this.
Now you're in Pennsylvania in the winter.
Mate, the snow was like this. I was freezing. We did a 5-mile run. I came back freezing. Yeah, John Davenport had to take me to the mall to buy a load of warm stuff to drink. Oh, mate, it was hell. It was hell. But I ended up having a fight in America, and I won it against what they call Donnie Parker. Yeah, I won it in the second round. Oh, mate, they loved me over there. And it was like big things. Okay, great. And I said to Brian, can I come back home for a week? He said, no, you stay back here. He didn't want me to come home. So I stayed in America. I was getting ready for a second fight, Riyadh, and then I had to come home again. Yeah, but no, he didn't let me come home. So I went to Canada with Sid, and I must have got into in a pool hall. I must have got into a bit of a scuffle, bit of a fight, and I remember hitting some guy, and his teeth stuck into my knuckle. Yeah. And I had to go to the hospital because obviously they said that, well, I didn't go at first, we left it. But Sid Vanderpool's mum was a nurse and she looked at it. And after 3 days, she said, listen.
It's going to get infected.
Yes, it started getting it. And she squeezed it and you could see a bit of pus. And she said to me, listen, my advice to you, you need to go to the hospital because if you get that, what you call it, where it goes septic, you get blood poison or whatever, and you'd have to have your arm amputated. Oh, what? So I went to the hospital. The doctor put it on this table, got this big needle, stuck it in, cut it, split it, squeezed it, took all it, cleared out. That was my opportunity. I had a big fight over there. I should have been fighting for the light welterweight world title against this Italian kid who this promoter had made. And now I had to tell the worst lie to Brian, and this is going to come out now because no one ever knows this story. I said I was putting some rubbish out, yeah, in the finger. As I was pushing down, there was a piece of glass that was there and it's gone into my knuckle. Yeah. And that was it. And so I didn't fight. So I said, so I went home and after I come back home, yeah, and for me, I used to always drive stupidly and I had all these speeding tickets, this and this and this. I had over $2,000 in fines, yeah, that I done miss court for while I was in America. So there was a warrant for my arrest. So while I was in my friend's car, and we got stopped on the way home, the police PNC'd us and found out there was a warrant with no, what do you call it? A warrant for your arrest with no bail. So you had to, as soon as you got in, boom, court in the morning, and they didn't release me. So I ended up having to doing like 8 weeks in jail. The American thing, it gone. The world title fight, it gone. My hand was busted, it's all gone, and all because of, that was it. And that messed it all up then. At the age of 28, I never boxed again.
But you skipped over some things here.
Yeah.
You skipped over some stuff that we got to talk about. I want to talk about after you beat Kalamati,
Yeah.
you're European champion.
Yeah.
you defended it how many times?
Several times.
Several times.
Yeah, too many times.
And the world title fight, first of all, you were supposed to fight Chavez.
Yeah.
Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yeah.
And you believed in yourself at that time.
Again, I think the way I was fighting, I believed I could beat anybody, and that installed me and Brian was like we was a team.
Right.
We was the best team ever. And while I believed in Brian so much, while he believed in me so much, and before it became this pain in the ass, it was always a great working relationship. So yeah.
The synergy was there.
Yeah.
But everything has its window, right? Timing's everything in life.
Yeah.
And another thing about you as a fighter, which is just, I love it and it's amazing to me. At the beginning of your career, you touched on it, but you didn't really go into it. You were the journeyman, even before you kind of started, like, because he knew you didn't have a big promoter. You were black.
Yeah.
You didn't have a big push behind you. You didn't have the big amateur pedigree. I mean, you had an amateur career. You had 26 fights, 24 wins.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't a huge, you weren't on the GB setup, you weren't an Olympian, nothing like that. So you didn't have that, right? Like you were more the haggler versus the Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
You had to come up the hard way.
Yeah.
And like, Brian knew that, and that's why he put you in hard early sparring and stuff like that. So when you first fought these tough guys that you were supposed to lose, you won. And then it kind of switched. So you really came up the hard way. Yeah,
because he did that because the thing what Brian did with me, he made me learn about defense, and he says because all these kids are going to try and do is knock you out.
Yep.
Because they're the old fighters, and with them being the old fighters, they're just going to come one way. So that was great. So once they would try halfway through the fight, you could see them fading and getting tired, and that's the plan was to try. It's like Muhammad Ali with the rope-a-dope. Is to let them come out there, swing in early rounds, play into the crowd, and then fire one shot, go to the body, and then start changing it because they're not used to someone coming back. You spent most of the fight covering up and being defensive, and the second half of the fight, you end up chasing the fight and then catching them when they was tired because they was leaving themselves for the open because they were still trying to throw powerful shots, but tired, powerful shots.
It's like it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. No matter how many rounds you're doing.
I mean, I think early days, I think I was probably the first one early days to learn about catch shoot. Yeah, because someone would throw a left hook and I could catch it and counter it with a straight right hand.
Catch and counter. But Brian, I think he was one of the first coaches, at least in the UK, to have a VCR and to look at tape.
Yeah.
Like Brian, he used to watch Salvador Sanchez and Wilfredo Gomez. Like he was a real student of the game. So like depending on if you were a bantamweight, a light welterweight, a heavyweight, he had tapes of guys, Willie Pep.
He watched everybody.
Sanchez. So he was, like you said, really big on defense.
And because he could style, he could always say, he named me the Black Flash after a boxer called Roy Cara, an African boxer. Because I didn't know this till later on in my career that I was named after another fighter. Yeah. And I'm like, I looked up this Roy Cara, this Black Flash, and I looked at why he named me after him. Because he said I had hands all over the place and I was quick, so when he was going, my hands looked like you had two sets of hands. Punches were coming from all directions. And that was the same with this Ryan Cara. He said about Lyndon. Lyndon reminded him of, what was that light heavyweight called now? Bob Foster. He was side on, and the first time I met Lyndon, because I think Lyndon was probably one of the last people that he trained, and he said to me, Pat, this kid can be good. And I'm bringing Brian in, bringing Lyndon into the gym at the age 17. And again, he could just look at him, go back in his head to what fighter he could say that these remind him of, and that's what he did. He categorized a fighter, and every fighter that he did was different. It was all trained differently. He had a style for everybody. If he was flat-footed, he would find someone. It was crazy.
It wasn't a one-size-fits-all.
No, it was just good how he could do it.
So just to kind of sum up, talking about your career, you were with Mickey Duff for a while, then Frank Warren, yeah?
Sure.
But that world title shot kept evading you. That fight fell through several times.
Yeah.
And when it finally did happen, first of all, it wasn't at your 140, it was at 147.
Yeah.
And I think you came in like 144 and change for that. but like, you weren't up for it at that point.
No,
You weren't mentally up for it.
no. I think it's only because due to the fights that have happened several times that made me feel like it's going to happen again. I mean, one time we got ready for the fight, so ready for the fight, that would have knocked anybody out in that fight. And we've done the press conference, we've done the weigh-in, we've done everything. I'm sat in the hotel room. Next thing, knock on the door, Brian comes in and says, the fight's off. I said, why? He said his brother's just been shot and he's got to go back to America. And it didn't happen then, and I think that took everything out of me.
It took the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, everything.
Because you were really up for it.
Really up for that fight. I mean, I was dropping people in sparring. Honestly, I'm not just saying that. Brian used to put me in with middleweights so I could let my shots go, because nobody my size or my weight could hold what I was doing.
You sparred John Fury, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I mean, it was great. I think Brian did that on purpose, really, because I said to Brian, why do I have to train so hard, Brian, if I'm knocking everybody out? And he says, okay. So we asked John to do some rounds with me, and John, you know, he was coming in southpaw and throwing shots. And
so much bigger than you, too.
Yeah, and you know, I had to keep moving, running,
of course.
surviving, skipping around it. And I remember he threw a right hand and it knocked me really off balance, like a southpaw left, and it knocked me off balance. Oh, fucking hell. And I thought, oh, right, defense was on. And for them 6 rounds, it was kind of like boxing, but boxing in survival mode, because I had to stay switched on. And by the time I come out, I finished on my back. I was so tired. And then Brian says, there you go. That's why you have to train hard, because you don't knock it. There's no saying you're going to knock everybody out.
That's right.
And now I finally registered what he meant by it. So yeah, I still stuck to training hard.
Amazing trainer. Amazing trainer. You also sparred Ricky Hatton, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I mean, I sparred Ricky Hatton coming to the end of my career then, when I was finishing. And Ricky Hatton was trying different gyms out, and Brian told me, this kid's coming. I think he's very, very good. He's just won the ABAs, he's looking to turn pro, and he just needs someone to move about with. I said, okay. So I was always like the guinea pig, because I was still around the gym, I was still with Brian. And I said, okay then. So me and Ricky Hatton were sparring, he was cool the first round. Second round, mate, he come out like a fucking Tasmanian devil. He was throwing punches from everywhere, and I thought, oh, fuck, covering up. And I seen the first opportunity, and I just went, boom, left hook to the body, and then it went down. And like I said, bear in mind, he's a kid and I'm a man. So it wasn't nothing down with a boast on about it. It was, in fact, it'd be a compliment to me as much as it would be to him. So he went down, he got up, had a little chat with him, saying, listen, it's not like that, this and that. Third round, okay. Fourth round, he was getting kneaded up again. Fifth round, boom, same again. So I did it again, hit him again with a body shot, down. And, but Ricky Hatton, what I liked about Ricky Hatton, really, when I heard the story, he took it as like a compliment, if that makes sense. Because he said to his dad in the car, that's what I want to do. His dad said, what? I want to be able to throw punches like that. And
he ended up going on to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So in a way, it kind of...
Yeah. And that's what going to different gyms does. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's about it. It means that you can gain from it.
Of course.
Because I was more experienced from him. I've done the highest level of boxing. He was just a young kid coming through. So yeah.
And you're still mates to this day?
Pardon? Yeah, of course. We go spar. He comes bring the lads down sparring. I'll go and call him. Yeah, we've got the utmost respect. I mean, watching what he did throughout his career says it all, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You're talking about Lyndon Arthur. He's got a big fight coming up.
Yeah.
Against Anthony Yard. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, of course I can. First of all, let's talk about his trainer, yeah. His trainer, I'm looking for him.
Yeah.
He keeps calling me out. No, let's go back to that. Forget about his trainer. No, I mean, I think me and his trainer made this fight happen, because we kept talking about it, and we have had certain calls behind closed doors about this fight, and we're saying, yeah, I think this trilogy fight will make a great fight, because I think this is the only fight that I know Lyndon will come alive for and spark into it. And I'm so right in what I'm saying, because this is a fight that Lyndon is just sparked into now. In the gym, everything about him, everything he's just doing so perfect. And I'm thinking, if he would have done this the second time, he wouldn't have got beat. Lyndon beat himself in the second fight. I know that, and nobody knows Lyndon like how I know him. Yeah, and I can honestly say that, and I wouldn't speak on the behalf of him just for saying it. Lyndon beat himself in the second fight. The first fight, he won it because of the fear and the respect that he had for Yard. Yeah, and then the second fight, it was, oh, you'll beat Yard this time, you'll probably knock him out. Or this, all the people talking shit. When you're on social media, you've got thousands of people. When you've got the following, like what Lyndon and Zelfa's got on social media, you start believing the hype.
Right.
And that's exactly what it is, hype, because they don't know you.
They don't know.
But then you start listening to the person that does know you.
Yeah.
And that was his mistake.
Right.
Well, I said to him, listen, we'll beat him the same way we did before, but better and more convincingly. Yeah, we'll set our shots up. What did he do? You see, I knew what he was trying to do, but it was a dangerous game how he was playing it, and he took a risk, and obviously it didn't pay off. This time round, he won't take that risk now.
Can you talk about Tunde at all?
Tunde, I can mention Tunde a little bit, yeah. Ask fire away.
Say it again.
You fire away.
No, just. I mean,
Well,
before there was some stick. I mean, I think you guys worked it out a bit. I don't know, maybe you have. Maybe
Yeah,
you
we
haven't.
did. We did.
But fight week hasn't come up yet, so.
We did, and we still got a lot to say about it. Like I heard Tunde was in Manchester, and he was saying, "Where's Pat Barrett? I'm in Manchester, and I can't see him. I'm looking for him." And he goes, his last message were, I'll show you this later on the phone, that Pat Barrett is on his better days, and I'm on the way up. So basically, you stay down, Pat. So, I mean, my thing for Tunde is like, look, when I see him, I'm going to make sure I'm carrying a pair of gloves, 2 pairs of gloves. I'm going to throw him a pair, and I got a pair, and I'm going to say there's a car park out here. Yeah, I'm not even going to train for you. Let's just put these gloves on and punch fuck out of each other now and see who's standing. And I guarantee there's only be one person standing. My resume will say totally different from his resume.
Speaking of Lyndon, there's a funny story. You were in Saudi, right, for the Bivol fight, I think it was?
Yeah.
You guys all go out to dinner. It's a whole lot of you guys. The bill comes, and one of the guys who's going to pay for it throws his card down, and his card was denied. So you stepped up and said, no, I'll take the bill, but you hadn't looked at it yet, had you?
No.
You got walloped, huh?
Yeah, but I think Lyndon found that funny, really, because I can't remember what the bill was. It was like, man, he was. I mean, I don't even know who some of these people was. What was on the table?
It was like 1,500 quid or something.
Yeah, I was like, and I just said, I'd pay that. And I gave him my card, and I just said, I looked at the bill, I thought, oh my days, have I just really paid that?
I love it.
It wasn't, and Lyndon still never paid me my money back, but.
I'm really looking forward to that fight. It's going to be very exciting. The trilogy with Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard. It's going to be great. There's been some other tough stuff, obviously, and I don't want to talk too much about it. But obviously, you lost a cousin to knife crime or
Yeah.
to an incident. I guess a fight had happened. This is Christmas, quite a long time ago, but still.
I lost 2. I lost Lyndon's brother.
Yeah.
He was murdered. He was shot 11 times. My nephew was stabbed in an over nonsense in a nightclub. My best friend from London, he was shot, Adrian Crawford. He was murdered as well. He was gunned down, shot 11 times. And, this life is a funny thing, but you know what makes me stronger? Is this whole boxing, this promoting, this managing, this training, everything else. It makes me more determined rather than going the opposite way, going drinking, smoking, taking drugs, all that shit, trying to rebel on the things that you're missing and trying to, compensate with something else. No, this here makes me more determined, to get me where I want to get. So to make them people that are looking down proud and say, you know what, Pat, you go on, son, you've done it. I mean, and that's why I don't be around negative people. I just be by myself now, because too many people try and tell you what you can and can't do and try and push you back, and people don't realize what you have done. Zelfa, where he is today, he wasn't no GB kid. He wasn't no ABA champion. It's the same way I came through boxing. He's mirror image to me. I'm the one who's given Zelfa everything he's got. I'm the one who's took Zelfa where he is today, not nothing else and not nobody else. Same with Lyndon. I've been in that gym working with and all the other kids that I've got. I'm always going to find a way to get them where they need to go.
The trainers in this sport are really the biggest unsung heroes, not just of the sport, but of the communities. you know, doing things that Brian Hughes did, doing things that you're doing. I mean, even when, unfortunately, you had to do a spell, you had to go away for a bit. Brian talked to the judge, to really get you the least time that you could.
Yeah.
And you said he was a great storyteller, and there's a great story you talking about how Brian's talking to the judge and telling him about you and saying that you know, you're a good egg and like not to throw the book at you. And you said the judge was just sitting there listening to it.
Yeah, the judge said, Mr. Barrett, if I had my way today, you'd be going home. But unfortunately, this sentence carries a custodial. And he gave me the minimum sentence, you know, it was a loaded gun, 6 bullets, live bullets, and he gave me a month for each bullet, so it was like 6 months. It run concurrent for 3 years for the gun, so I got 3.5 years for a loaded gun in a hotel room.
But you used that time to really focus and plan your life when you got out. That's when you got into training, yeah?
That's when I knew what the mindset was about, yeah, because I did exactly everything that I said I was going to do. I set up a security firm, and I also said I'm going to help Brian in the gym because I would die for this man. And I did do that, and that's why I'm still in this gym now, carrying his legacy on. And I'll always mention that he was my God. More than I would say thank God, I would say thank Brian Hughes for everything I am today.
Can I ask you why they didn't invite you to the funeral?
Do you know what? It's a very. I think it's just this subject with is more as audible as my cousin's being killed, because I love Brian, and he's one of the sons or his family. They still think to this day when I mention Brian's name that I'm trying to live off Brian's name. I don't need to live off Brian's name because I'm doing what Brian's not doing. I'm promoting and I'm managing and I'm matchmaking and I'm doing it with the pros, not with the amateurs, and I'm bringing them on the same way I was taught. This life is all about respect. You can have all the money in the world, but if you haven't got no respect, you've got nothing.
Amen.
You know, it's like love. It's like you can't buy love, you can't buy respect, and you can't buy trust. You have to earn everything. And that's the same thing in life, what I'm doing now. I've earned where I am today. This is why I mean I'm getting to meet you. Because many people would love to be sitting here with you now and shaking your hands, but I've earned being here with you today. So I mean, it's a great pleasure. You know what I mean?
It's an honor for me too. I mean, I've known you for years and we've always been quite friendly, but it's great to finally sit down and talk about your story. And you're absolutely right. You can't beg, borrow, or steal that kind of stuff. It's earned. It's absolutely earned, and you have earned it. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're making such a big difference in the community, because you've lived the life.
Yeah.
In the ring, in the street, and you're not just talking out of the side of your head. You've actually lived it. And so the young kids today that you're helping steer them into the right path, they can trust what you say.
Yeah.
We do this thing called fan questions. Are you okay to answer a few fan questions?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see what we got. All right. Okay. Okay. Beat the Beat asks, any regrets from your professional career?
No. No regrets. No regrets at all. Because I think you live with regrets. It's like, everything to me in life is an experience. So I've learned about myself in every possible way. For every wrong I've done, for every right I've done, I've learned, and I've took it to make myself a better person.
Joseph Shawcross asks, who is the best fighter in history from Manchester? It's been a lot.
Apart from myself.
Apart from you can answer yourself.
I don't know. I think we've had a lot, really. We've had what's he called now, from Champs Camp to Cruiserweight. What was his name now? I think I've lost it now. We've had Emsley Bingham, Ricky Hatton, Zelfa Barrett, Lyndon Arthur. There've been many great fighters that have come out of Manchester. Many great fighters. I probably can't even think now. I'm just switched off to it. But
that's okay. Martin Dunn asks, what motto do you live by?
What?
What motto do you live by?
Motto?
Oh,
what motto? I just listen to myself, and I don't let people distract me no more, and I don't listen to what anybody's got to say. I'm stay focused on my own life.
Well, listen, Pat, it's such a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. We wish Zelfa the very best on Saturday, and Jazza. I never root for any fighter. I just want the best man to win, both guys to stay safe.
Yep.
And for the fans out there, we have Jack Catterall and Barboza Jr. Saturday night in Manchester. David Diamante, Matchroom Radio, episode 81. That's a wrap with the Black Flash, Pat Barrett. Thank you, brother.
Respect.
Respect.